Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite plants, the Pilea peperomioides, and how to take care of it. The Pilea peperomioides is one of my favorite plants for a couple of reasons. Not only does it have a beautiful structure, but it also is a plant that is easily propagatable. By that I mean the Pilea throws off these offshoots that just absolutely keep coming and coming and coming. And it's a plant that allows you to easily share with a lot of your friends or family or whomever, or just share with yourself and create more. Now, I want to talk about how to care for this plant because it can be a bit tricky, but if you master these tips and tricks, your Pilea will absolutely thrive. This particular Pilea has a really good size to it, and it really has only been growing for about a year, at least well for about a year. I like to grow this plant outside because by growing it outside, it just explodes with growth. Not only upward growth, but also, like I said, these offshoots, which allow for the plant to be shared amongst other people or be shared with yourself. So this plant, like I said, I like to keep it as more of a tree-like structure. I have removed some of the lower leaves on the main trunk only because they were a bit damaged. But if you look closely at the stem or the trunk itself, you'll notice that some offshoots are starting to push out, which is absolutely fantastic. There are really, I would say, about four main elements involved with making sure that your Pilea thrives and basically is the best that it can be. The first thing is the soil. Everything starts at the soil because without soil, your plant really wouldn't be able to do very much. I like to keep this Pilea in a fairly water retentive soil, and that's because I'm growing this outside, and because it's being grown outside, the soil tends to dry out more frequently. If you're growing your plant inside, however, you want to make sure that you're using a fairly well-drained mixture of about a 50% perlite and a 50% potting mixture. This is going to allow for your adequate drainage, so ultimately preventing root rot. So I would highly recommend that you do that if you're growing your plant indoors. But again, outside, I'm probably at about a 50-20 mixture. So 50% potting mix or potting soil and 20% perlite, and my plant absolutely loves it. If you like videos like this and want to continue to see more videos about houseplant tips and tricks, please be sure to subscribe to the channel as we march closer to 1.2 thousand subscribers. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to talking about the Pilea peperomioides. The second thing when it comes to worrying about your Pilea and how to make sure that it continues to thrive and live its best life is you want to make sure that you're giving your Pilea adequate amount of light. So your Pilea, when grown indoors, it can tolerate medium light, but it's not really going to live its best life. So I would recommend that if you're growing inside, that you give it bright and direct sunlight. But if you want to have the maximum growth and you want to have the maximum size in the disc-like foliage, I would recommend that you grow your plant outdoors. You'll notice too that when you grow your plant outdoors, it also has a tendency to bloom. Because it blooms and because you don't want to really waste your energy on the blooms, I just recommend just plucking them right off. It's not going to hurt the plant whatsoever, and in fact, it can encourage more vigorous vertical growth, which is what I'm trying to achieve. I really want this to be a nice, beautiful tree-like structure of a plant. When you're growing this outdoors, again, this can really tolerate bright, direct sunlight. You just want to make sure that you are allowing for your leaves to properly acclimate when being placed outdoors. If you don't give your plant enough time to acclimate outdoors, chances are you're going to run into issues where your Pilea leaves are going to burn. And burning is something that we absolutely want to avoid because, unfortunately, if your leaves do burn, they're not going to revert back to the nice green looking disc like shapes. They're just going to forever be burned. I believe that watering and feeding are also essential when you want to take care of your Pilea and when you want to make sure that you allow for the maximum growth of your Pilea. When you water, I like to water fairly frequently only because, again, my plant is outdoors, so the soil has a tendency to dry out more frequently. If your plant is indoors, however, you want to make sure that you're periodically checking to make sure that you're not overwatering your plant. If you are overwatering, that can lead to yellowing leaves. That can also lead to things such as root rot and ultimately the deterioration of your plant. To check to make sure that you are giving your plant an adequate amount of water and you're not over or under watering, I just like to stick my finger into the soil to make sure that my plant is okay. So I am basically checking to see if the top few inches of the soil is dry. By dry, I mean if I stick my finger out, is dirt or soil sticking to my finger. If it's not sticking to my finger, then chances are my plant is in need of water. If it is sticking to my finger, then you can hold off on the water. If you find that your plant is in need of water, just simply do a nice complete watering. So this entails taking a watering jug or a can or whatever container that you use, watering your Pilea, and then waiting until water drips down or eventually comes out of the base of the plant. While you can, you should not water your plant without feeding your plant as well. Feeding is absolutely critical when it comes to taking care of any houseplant, because ultimately what will happen is the nutrients that are in your soil when you first make your potting mix, those nutrients are ultimately going to be depleted. And if your plant has a depleted amount of nutrients, then you'll notice things such as yellowing leaves or just stunted growth. By feeding your plant, you're going to ensure that you are giving your plant the ability to maximize the energy that it's receiving from the sun to convert into additional food to then push out additional growth. So I like to feed my plant with the 3:1:2 NPK ratio fertilizer. That's really something that I use with most of my tropical house plants, because not only does it allow for a great amount of upward top growth, but it also helps with the bottom growth as well. And by bottom growth, we're talking about roots. Your roots need to grow as well, otherwise your plant is just going to get stunted ultimately. So those are my tips and tricks for taking care of Pilea peperomioides. These plants, again, are very, very beautiful. And if you use these tips and tricks, I guarantee that your Pilea will also begin to push out wonderful, beautiful growth this growing season and beyond. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it helpful, please be sure to give this video a nice thumbs up and also consider subscribing to the channel. Again, my name is Brad. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.